Hi everybody. Just wanted to check in and kind of end the evening with an overall takeaway from the Modern Homesteading Conference that we were at today and will be at again tomorrow. I tried to do a live stream actually tonight, but the internet is poor where we are and it was not working. So, who knows, maybe I'll try again sometime soon. We are actually right now at a campground near Coeur d'Alene in a little town called Rathdrum. We decided to camp between the conference days instead of staying in a hotel, and we've got the dogs here with us, and we're working on making dinner right now, and kind of just talking about what an awesome time we had today. So there were a lot of speakers, a lot of different things going on. We couldn't go to all of them if we wanted to. There were time slots with like 6 or 7 or 8 different speakers happening all at the same time in different places. And on top of that, there were vendors and tents everywhere with different homesteaders and people with products for homesteads and just everything you could just possibly think of. It was vast and it was incredible, and we met lots of cool people and saw lots of cool things. I'm probably going to pick up some products for the farm tomorrow. We'll see how everything goes. We are both really excited from the day and really tired from it, so this evening's rest is going to be really nice. But I know I keep saying we, and I've mentioned my friend Bailey a couple of different times today in posts, so I'm going to introduce you to her. This is Bailey, and that's her dog Jaeger. Bailey, what was your favorite part of today?
Probably meeting my idol, Temple Grandin.
Oh
yeah. She's done a lot of amazing work in the slaughter industry and really just revolutionized the slaughterhouses. Like, they're more humane. She's also very successful as a professor. She has triumphed a lot being on the autism spectrum and being born in a time where it was not as normalized and people just weren't as educated on it. So
how old is she now?
She's 71.
Yeah.
She was born in 1947. So yeah, she's experienced a lot. She's witnessed how everything from construction and, just how everything has changed and how it can be better and things that, maybe don't need to change as much.
And you got a book from her today, right?
And she signed my book. So
you got a picture with her too.
And I got a picture with her. It was awesome. And we got to hear her speak at the end of the day. That was probably my favorite part.
That was your top favorite part of the whole day?
Yes, of my life. I love her.
Your entire life.
Entire life.
We'll have to let the Modern Homesteading Conference know that they not only made your day, but made your entire life.
Made my entire life. So, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, we had a ton of fun. I think we got there and, we knew it was going to be good, but I don't think we had any concept of the scale that it was going to be. And we walked in and it was just, there were, how many people do you think were there?
Oh, like 1,000.
At least 1,000.
Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating. It was a huge event.
There was a huge crowd for every single.
And there's people from all over. It is not a local event.
No, it was nice because we had some Amish people there too that we were talking about how they view community and how you can create community and the mindsets around it.
Yes.
Overall.
Which you guys know is a hugely important thing to me.
Invaluable knowledge and reps.
Yeah, our first talk we went to this morning was by Anne of All Trades. I don't know her last name, but her business is Anne of All Trades, and she was talking about building a sustainable business from your homestead. And what I really appreciated, she had a lot of really good points, and I think I'm going to do a brief video summarizing the talk that she gave, because I took some pretty thorough notes, and I think they're really good. But the thing that I took away most was that this gal she really is a Jill Ann of all trades. She has done a little bit of everything, and she currently has 19 sustainable streams of revenue. 19 separate streams of revenue that she does. Everything from running a dairy with her friend to the eggs that she sells, which
the pens that she makes.
The pens that she makes. That's a side story. But and like some of those streams of revenue are like the eggs are very small, but she has 19 different diversified forms of income, which I thought was really smart, and she really normalized it and made it sound possible. And she did it all by crushing our dreams. Her big thing, she spent more than half the talk dream crushing, like telling us all the things that don't work, how not to get our hopes up, and all of these things, but then like laid out what to do to create sustainable businesses on the homestead. So it was really good. And this came out really good too.
Ooh, it looks really good.
I think I'm gonna make it spicy. So after that, we split up after that, right?
Yeah, we did.
Bailey went to the gardening one. What was that about?
We went over, I forget who it was, but she went over all the ways that you can evaluate your land, the area you live in, and what's possible for that area, and just kind of how to streamline things based on like where you live.
Like what's the best to grow, or?
Yeah, we didn't get a lot to livestock. We talked a lot more about gardening and how it can sometimes just take years to just take care of the soil that you have, but it's way more worthwhile to do it that way than it is to just buy a bunch of soil, and how much more rewarding it can be when you don't give yourself, like, create more like a 5-year plan instead of it has to happen right now, because you know, we're kind of given this microwave, you know, version of everything now, where everything's about convenience and you need it now and you need it fast, whereas building your homestead will take a lot of time and trial and error, and maybe doing something one way for 5 years and then completely changing it up when it no longer serves you, and just a lot of that.
That was a really good summary. I apologize, I just made my food spicy and now I have the hiccups. So
I get the hiccups too. Spice.
I love spicy, and I can actually handle a ton of, like, a high level of spice, but if I'm suddenly introduced to spice, it causes the hiccups. I don't know.
I appreciate it because it keeps me hydrated.
So while Bailey was learning about soil and gardening and streamlining, I went to the talk about wool and shearing demonstration, which was great. I have hair varieties of sheep, so they don't necessarily need to be shorn because they are supposed to shed their wool on their own. And because of crosses that might be in there, they might be clinging onto a little too much of their wool, and I might help them a little bit, like on the backs of my sheep. But what was really nice was I did get the education I needed to shear, should I get a breed that I need to. It was a lot about just the technique and the tools and different styles and ways you can do it. But actually most of the talk was about the wool itself and understanding how the fiber on sheep works, and understanding the different varieties and how my sheep, how they grow their fibers, and I just feel like I walked away with it with a much better understanding of the hair on my sheep and what to do with it moving forward, which was great. And tomorrow they're doing a demonstration about hoof trimming as well, which I definitely need to be more educated on, because that is something I definitely want to do myself and stop calling people out to do, especially since I have a really small herd. It doesn't make sense to spend a lot of money. It's not a lot, but it doesn't make sense to spend any extra money on something I could easily do myself. So I'm looking forward to that. And then this afternoon, we took a lunch break. We came back, and I couldn't really sit in on any more talks because I was volunteering with the conference and it was my shift. So I helped in the ticket booth and I helped set up some chairs. And I'm trying to think. After that, I don't remember which talk Bailey went to while I was doing that. She'll tell us in a minute. She ran off for a second. But after we were done and when they ran out of stuff for us to do in the afternoon, they let us go and walk around, and we were to be available to answer questions and help direct people if needed. But we could also kind of, scout out the area and see whatever we wanted at the same time. So I was able to sit in on parts of multiple different talks, which was kind of cool. I didn't get any whole talks, but I got pieces of a lot of little pieces of ones, and they were all good, and it kind of gave me an idea of what I want to do tomorrow, which was great. Bailey and I spent significant time listening to one about sustainable hunting practices and wildlife conservation and how they work together. It was great. Bailey, which one did you go to before the hunting one?
I went to a talk about how to build community like
Oh,
the
that's
Amish.
right. Yeah, definitely talk about that.
That
one.
was so heart-wrenchingly sweet. He really mostly just told a lot of stories about instances where him or someone he knew went through a tragedy, like his son passing away or his mom and her barn got torn down in a windstorm, and then 10 years later it burned down. And she was, anytime that something like that happened, their neighbors were just, and before any emergency services got there, when they discovered someone had passed in an accident, or, his mom was crying saying, why does this always have to happen to me? Their neighbors would just say things like, it's okay, we'll just build you another one. Or they would be there before, oh my gosh, any emergency services would arrive. And they would feed 100 people before noon when something would happen at like 8:30.
That's crazy.
Just things like that. How everything revolves around your neighbors. And when you take the focus so much off of yourself, that's what builds community and those bonds. And how being kind to somebody, even just for years and years, goes a long way. Like, they had this neighbor that moved in, and he wasn't Amish, but they were just such kind people where they would find out when they were having a birthday, and then every year they would drop off a cake, a coffee cake, or a cherry pie. And then 7 years later, this person that owns this 100 acres of land goes to their property, and it's like, you guys want to hunt on my property? I could use some hunters. And following that, when I went to the sustainable hunting one, I learned that it's probably one of the best forms of conservation that we have.
That was so interesting.
That was so interesting. It makes so much sense.
That the actual act of humans hunting these animals in the right way.
In the 1950s, the
helps with propagation.
Yeah, the white-tailed deer population, like the 1950s, was like 500,000. Yeah. Today, it's 30 million.
Yeah, and she gave several other examples, like wild turkeys and antelope, and...
Yeah, and they're like, well, and I learned, we can just leave it up to the wolves, or, the natural selection. Why can't we just leave it up to natural selection? Because with natural selection, they're going after mothers giving birth. They're going after babies. They're going after the smaller, weaker members.
The upcoming generations.
But with hunters, you're going after the big, mature animals, the big, mature males, the bucks, or...
Who've already...
Yeah.
Influenced the gene pool.
They've already contributed to the gene pool. And
that's the word I was
you're getting more meat, and they're almost never targeted because they're fully mature and they're big and they're fast.
Yep.
So that was really interesting to me.
Yeah, that was so cool to listen to her talk about how hunting practices actually helps with the populations.
Because the general public is not going to care about animals that you don't put value on, especially game animals. So the more effort you put into, fish and game, the more effort that people will put into making sure that it's sustainable and that they stick around and that there's regulations around.
Yeah.
When and where and how much you're allowed to hunt. I also really liked how she went into depth more about not just hunting with rifles, but like hunting. Like, I don't want to be a shooter, which there's nothing wrong with shooting your animals.
And she was in the military too, for background. Like she has no problem with guns.
No.
She was talking about how
it can get you when you hunt with like a bow and arrow, for example. There's a lot less meat waste because when you shoot an animal or wherever you puncture them, there's always going to be like that meat's like bloodshot.
Yeah.
So, and you usually have to cut that area out. It's just mush. You can't really eat it. So
she also talked about how it connected her to the process and gave her more ability to be respectful of the life she was taking and using, because she said she felt like the rifle usage made her more disconnected from the process, and she didn't like how that felt personally. Not that she was saying there was anything wrong with it.
It takes more effort and intention to really get up close to the animal.
And she doesn't even use a compound bow. She uses a traditional bow.
She makes her own arrows and stuff.
Yeah, because she's all about being able to make her weapons herself instead of being dependent on someone else for her weapons.
So the apocalypse hits, I know whose house I'm going to.
And she also did talk about just the meat itself and how it, like, economical it was to feed her family off of hunted meat versus buying meat.
It'll be like a $30 tag and you get to hunt a whole deer.
Well, she said, like, and it's different in each area.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
But depending on how
she
many
said
tags
that one year she filled all 5 of her tags
for like $38.
For $38
because
filled their 2 freezers.
Because you get the first tag for, like, in her state, $30, and then every additional tag is just $2 extra. So a whole deer for $2, that's insane to me.
That's definitely better than buying meat every week.
Yeah, my dad and I, we hunted an elk last year, a trophy elk, and we haven't even made a dent.
You still have to share some of that with me.
I still need to share that with you.
The elk sausage was amazing.
I did make elk spaghetti.
Oh, that was so good. All right, it's getting dark. And this is a pretty long video already, but I'll just say a couple more things. 2 things. One thing that I have really appreciated about the conference so far that I actually did not expect or have any anticipation for at all was how many people there are Christians and faith-based homesteaders. They opened the conference this morning. They welcomed everybody and talked about the conference, and then they opened in a very sincere prayer that oh, Jaeger? What are you getting into? Sorry.
Nothing.
Just grass. Okay. We're good. That the conference would be useful to people and that all of the efforts would be glorifying to God, and it was so encouraging, and I heard people throughout the whole day talking about their faith openly, and it was just really wonderful, and I loved it. And the last thing is, yes, the dogs are with us, and I know you haven't seen him because he's tied up over there, but Kenai is here with me. I wouldn't come without him. I went without him last weekend. I'm not doing it again. And we aren't allowed to bring them to the conference with us, which is so sad, but also really nice that we don't have to worry about them while we're going around doing everything. We found this wonderful gal up here to, dog sit them for the day at her home. Her family does it all the time. They've got their little profile on one of the doggy daycare apps and stuff, and she was just fantastic. Cannot sing her praises enough. And the dogs had a blast playing with her little golden retriever puppy and hanging out at her house all day. And they'll be there again tomorrow until the evening when we can pick them up and hang out with them again. So they're kind of worn out right now, too. They've had a long couple of days. They were in the car all day yesterday, which they are done with. And then they were playing all day at this lady's house. And they're going to do it again tomorrow. And then they'll be in the car again all day. Which Kenai is sad right now because he's separated from us, so I'm going to go get him. But anyway, I will post more things about the conference tomorrow. There's a whole lineup. There's so many speakers and so many time slots, and we just can't see it all, and it's almost a little disappointing because there's a lot of talks tomorrow that I would really like to see. But we're going to get some good rest tonight, and we're so excited for another day. Like, there was nothing bad about this day. Like, it was just a fantastic day.
It was.
Yeah. So I hope you all have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow.